everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today we've got a review of the CJRB Droma. This is a really cool knife. I have been really excited for this review and really want to make sure I got it done before the end of the year. So here it is. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Start off, as always, with our blade length measurements. Sharpened edge is coming in here at 3 1/4 inches. We're gonna call it 3 1/4 inches. Overall blade length is about 3 1/4 inches as well, just a hair over. A pretty average sized pocket knife. Let's bring out some size comparisons. Also, I am a little bit congested right now, so pardon me. Here's our rats. Kind of sits between the two sizes, as so many knives do. And I'm going to say it again, I've said it many times, but I need to get a rat 1.1. I want to do a thickness comparison real quick. This knife is pretty thick in the handle, in a good way, in a very good way. All right, let's bring out our Civivis. There's the Elementum, or in this case, the Elementum 2. And here is the Praxis. Sweet. Let's bring out our USA made comparisons. Starting us off, as always, with the Spyderco PM2. And here is the Benchmade bug out. Awesome. Let's also compare against a couple of other knives from CJRB's lineup. Two of my favorites. Here is the Shale. And here is the Feldspar. Awesome. What are we looking at for our materials? Well, we have a drop point blade of AR RPM 9 steel, CJRB's proprietary spray form steel that they like to use. We also have aluminum scales with G10 inlays. This is a liner lock, a steel liner lock. We have a steel pocket clip, and it is running on bearings. Let's go cut some stuff. Hey guys, it's review cutting time, and we got the CJRB Droma. I have beat the snot out of this knife. I absolutely love this knife. This is a pretty incredible knife. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's start off with the ergos. Very plain yet sophisticated ergonomics on this knife. We do have a finger well right here. Fits in your hand really nicely. I do not feel that clip. It kind of falls into this perfect little crease in my hand, which I really like. The jimping up here, I think they could have taken it a little bit further, but it does actually work. This is a good spot for your thumb. You got a little bit of a flat area here. Locks you in really well. No finger choil. We brought the edge pretty far back. There's really just one grip for this knife, and that's the right grip. It works excellently. So I really appreciate the ergonomics. Let's talk about the action. So this is a liner lock. We have great access to the lock bar. It is running on bearings. Very smooth. Great reverse flick. Blade hole is the only means of deployment. You can thumb flick it and reverse flick it. This has an action that I haven't really felt on very many other CJRBs. It's a very controlled bearing action, which I like. I prefer that. Very snappy in the open. Great detent. But then like buttery smooth on the close. Not like a drop shut guillotine. Just a very luxurious feeling glide. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic action. I find it very satisfying. Some people might not like it. Some people prefer their actions to be a little bit faster. But for me, that right there is great. So, fantastic action. All right, let's talk about the carry. So, we've got CJRB's standard clip. Actually, it's not. This is actually a slight modification, but it functions basically exactly like their other clips. This one is a little bit different in terms of looks. You know, I think a knife like this could have used a prettier clip, but that's beyond the point. It is reversible. Lefties rejoice. And the clip itself does work really well. We've got flat screws, and even though the clip is not recessed into the scales, it offers no resistance going into the pocket. It tucks away really nicely. It's a small package. You know, it folds up into a very nice cylindrical shape. Not too thick. although it is thick in the ergo, I should talk about the ergos. The thickness does help the ergos really a lot. Yeah, it's just a very, very easy knife to carry. Not super heavy, not obtrusive. Just very, very simple in all the best ways. I like the carry on this knife a lot. All right, let's go ahead and cut some stuff, shall we? Of course. And actually, I'm going to go and grab a different thing of cardboard. Un momento, por favor.
Behold, I have returned with box.
I should have said, we have a drop point flat ground blade of AR RPM 9 steel, which cuts very well, as you can see from that. Ah! I think I just accidentally doxed my father. We're gonna go ahead and cover that up. My bad, Dad. Anyways, all that aside, passes through material very, very nicely. You know what? I'm gonna grab me a different thing so I can do some more slicey stuff without addresses showing, perhaps. You know, that'd be nice. That was awkward. That was me. That was me. And actually, I need to hold it a little bit lower, don't I? And for utility cuts, you can get to the tip very, very nicely. Overall, pretty solid performing blade right there. Let's go ahead and get our rope out here. Bada bing, bada boom. Whew, that felt real good. Let's do some crunches. 1, 2, 3. Honestly, for a smallish knife like this, that's not too bad. It's not too bad. And full noodle time. Everyone's favorite test, right? Sure. 1, 2, 3. Oh! And I guess full disclosure, this is not a factory edge. This is my edge. I used this knife until it was dull and had to put a new edge on there. Ooh! Look at that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's thin. Very, very clean all the way through. No hang-ups, no binding, no ripping, no catching. That right there is what I like to see an EDC knife do. Overall, pretty solid frickin' performance from this knife. Give you guys one last look at it in all of its glory. Let's get back to the table. Alrighty, guys, we are back. Let's talk about what I'm liking and not liking about this knife. Number one, I should mention this in the intro, but this is designed by Dylan Mallory. I really, really like Dylan Mallory's designs. He's got a very, very elegant design language, and I do think this is a very elegant looking knife. I love the aesthetics of this knife. Let's dive in. Number one, the name Droma. I'm pretty sure Dylan Mallory names a lot of his knives after prehistoric critters, which, you know, I'm a fan of. And I'm pretty sure Droma comes from dromaeosaurs, which are, I mean, maybe. Actually, I should have looked up what his actual inspiration for this was, but that's like your velociraptors and things like that, which I wish I had a dromaeosaur model that I could put out here, but I don't with me at the moment, unfortunately. Actually, no, I don't. But that's cool. You know, I'm a dino nut, and you know, it kind of tickles my funny bone a little bit. I also think this knife just looks sexy as hell. This is a budget knife, but it feels so much more expensive, and a lot of that has to do with its looks. I love this champagne aluminum. It's got a great texture on it, great color. I'm actually going to close my window real quick because the cars outside are loud. Excuse me. Guys, we're so professional, aren't we? Anyways, I do love this champagne aluminum. It's got a great texture. It's got a great look. The G10 is also really, really nice. I love the texture on that G10. Well done, G10. is a very, very cool material. I love me some good G10. It's got very good lines, very clean lines. Looks great when it's folded up. And something that I said repeatedly about this knife in a lot of the shorts and, other content I made about this knife over the past few months. Where was I going with that sentence? Oh my gosh. A thing I've said about this knife a lot is that it reminds me of like an old school knife. I think at one point I said this reminds me of your granddad's pocket knife. And I got a comment, someone saying, my granddad's pocket knife was a buck 110. What are you talking about? Exactly. This reminds me of a buck 110. I should have been more prepared. Oh man. Just a second. Un momento. All right, this was not the knife that I was looking for, but it's what I grabbed first, and I think this actually illustrates the point. This reminds me of like an old school pocket knife, kind of like this old Rough Rider right here, and I'll explain why. Old slip joints like this, or buck 110s, little lockbacks that your grandpa would carry, they're made to be used. They're tools. People would buy these and they would carry them. They would abuse them. They'd get scratches. They'd get broken, whatever. They were meant to be a tool. But they also look beautiful, right? When Buck or Case makes a pocket knife, they make it with the intention or with the knowledge that it's going to be used. It's going to be carried. But they make them beautiful anyways. We've got really, really awesome covers on here, shields. We've got bolsters and end plates, polished liners and springs. This knife is a tool, but it's also beautiful. It's elegant. It kind of reminds me of like old cars back in the day. Like let's think about like the 40s, 50s, people driving around in their Studebakers and stuff. Those cars looked beautiful. They were made with pride. Owning a car was a big deal. And even though they were means of transportation, most cars, even, budget cars, were made to look kind of unique. They're made to look beautiful. Nowadays, cars all kind of look the same, and a lot of them are ugly. And I feel like that's kind of the thing with a lot of budget knives. I love the Civivi Praxis. I don't think this is a bad looking knife, but there's a lot of budget knives that are just, G10 liner locks, and they all look basically identical, and there's nothing really exciting. This knife looks elegant. It's classy. It's beautiful. It feels designed, but it comes in at a price point that definitely means you can use it and abuse it, which I absolutely have. I have used the crap out of this knife. I freaking love this knife. And that's how it gives me the vibes of like old school traditionals. That's where it gives me the vibes of your granddad's knife. Something that is meant to be used, but looks like an heirloom, right? I love that. And so, yeah, this kind of, I'm not going to call this a modern traditional because that phrase already brings to mind, a lot of other things. But this feels like a callback to the good old days, where functionality and form didn't have to be two separate packages. That was a lot of explanation for that, but I really wanted to explain that. I love that. Okay, let's talk about the knife itself. The ergonomics, I absolutely love. Big, thick scales. They are very slightly contoured. This knife fills the hand out amazingly. You got a little flat area on top here for your thumb. You've got some jimping in there. Very good jimping. Actually has a great texture. I wish they would have just brought it all the way out to the end right there. But even just where it's at, it works phenomenally. I like that they did not feel the need to put a choil, a big finger choil, on this knife. They used your blade to handle ratio very effectively and gave you as much sharpened edge as they possibly could, which I think is really, really great. And you can still get really, really close behind that edge. So Absolutely excellent ergos. I do not feel the pocket clip in my hand at all. Part of that is because of the shape of the pocket clip, but part of it is also because the pocket clip sits at the widest part of the handle, and it's just kind of angled in a way that helps it to disappear. You know, sometimes deep carry pocket clips don't always disappear that well, but you can see here, try to twist my hand around, the pocket clip disappears right into that crease in my hand. I don't even feel it. This is a supremely comfortable knife. Really, really helps it to be a heavy-duty user. The blade, I love this blade. It's, not a, thick knife, but it's also a little bit more robust than I was maybe expecting. Compare it to the shale. We can see here that it is quite a bit thicker than the shale. Or I guess maybe not quite a bit, but it is thicker than the shale, noticeably thicker than the shale. We have a saber height flat grind, but it comes down to a decently thin edge. Not the thinnest edge out there, but a really, really good usable edge. This is kind of the perfect balance between delicate sliciness and overbuilt robustness, right? This is a really, really great blade shape. And honestly, I'd say this is probably the perfect blade shape for most EDC tasks. This is a great blade shape for most people. You're not going to worry about chipping that edge. You're not going to worry about damaging it because the geometry is so thin, but it's not so robust that it's impractical. I really, really love this blade. This knife transitioned really, really well from my day-to-day life, working at a grocery store, working at the museum. It transitioned flawlessly between that and going on hikes, going on adventures, spending time around the campfire, climbing mountains. Really, really impressive, to be completely honest. I really, really like this blade. Of course, drop point, very versatile, jack of all trades, blade shape, going to work well for just about everyone. Very, very cool. Also, I love the stonewash. Great stonewash on this blade. I'm a huge fan of stonewash finishes, and this is a good one for sure. AR RPM 9 steel, I like that steel a lot in terms of sharpening it. The edge retention is fine on AR RPM 9. I don't really have many complaints with the edge retention, especially for, the price of this knife. The toughness on AR RPM 9 is decent as well. Again, no real complaints, especially for a knife of this type. And the ease of sharpening just makes AR RPM 9 an incredibly user-friendly steel to carry. We'll talk about something else here in a little bit just because I feel like I have to, but I like AR RPM 9 quite a lot. Sharpening choil is excellent. Look at that. Perfect sharpening choil. You got a lot of life to sharpen out of this blade, which I love to see. Absolutely love to see that. Next up, let's talk about the carry. This knife does have a reversible clip. Lefties are included. Rejoice. The clip itself is neat. It's actually slightly different than CJRB's regular clip. It's a little bit wider. It flares out at the top, and it works. It does work. It's a great clip. This knife, has great tension on the clip. The scales are nice and smooth. Goes in the pocket and out of the pocket effortlessly, but it still has good retention. Yeah, no real issues there. The action, beautiful. Blade slot for deployment only. I'm not always the biggest fan of a knife that has a slot for deployment only, but this one works excellently. Reverse flick is amazing, and the thumb flick, which that's my big problem with some slots, is they're not real great for the thumb flick. This one works just fine. It's a nice big hole, and that's what you want sometimes. But yeah, the action works amazingly. On the close, this thing has such a hydraulic action. It's like, I don't know, it just feels good. You can see that detent is pretty robust. Yeah, it just has a feeling to it, though, that's like just a little bit different than other CJRBs I've felt, and I like it. It's different in a good way. It's not drop shutty. It's kind of glide shutty, which is really, really sweet. in my opinion. Other bells and whistles. Access to the lock bar is incredible. They gave you some room on this side. They chamfered the lock bar really, really nicely. No problemo getting to that. I love that. T8 hardware. Hell yeah. That's awesome. And the inlay work on these G10, inlays is really phenomenal. It's really, really good. I am impressed. I like it a whole lot. This knife, again, just feels very, very classy and elegant. And it looks amazing. And it performs well. It's a hard worker, too. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to some of my negatives. Number one, this clip, again, works fine. And I don't have any problems with this clip, but I think this knife could have been a little bit cooler if it had, like, a titanium clip, which you can buy from Artisan. I might actually, but I think this knife would have been cooler if it had something that looked, I don't know, a little bit more elegant to match the rest of the knife. Again, it's not like a deal breaker for me. Normally I wouldn't even talk about something like that, but the rest of this knife just looks so beautiful, and the clip is a little bit plain. Again, functionally, the clip works amazingly. It doesn't bother me in the hand. It works great in and out of the pocket. I think it would have been kind of cool to have a different type of clip on here. And again, the way it's angled just works so well in, keeping it in the back of your pocket as well as helping the clip to disappear in your hand. Love that a lot. We already mentioned, I think they could have brung the jimping out a little bit further. Not the end of the world or anything, but, I am a jimping snob, so it's something that I noticed. Ugh, that's disgusting. You carry your knife, you get disgusting stuff in there. Let's talk about AR RPM 9 and corrosion resistance. I made a couple shorts about this. AR RPM 9 does not have great corrosion resistance. I live in the Southwest. Corrosion resistance is not something that I typically worry about on my knives, but AR RPM 9 does rust on me pretty readily. It patinas and discolors, which is fine, but it also rusts very, very easily. And I cleaned the rust off of this knife, but I had some shorts where I was showing the rust on this guy. And again, that's not an issue. Like, I could clean rust. I can deal with that. It's fine. But it does make AR RPM 9 a little bit harder for me to recommend to newbies. This knife is this steel is so amazing and user-friendly otherwise, especially with the ease of sharpening, that the corrosion resistance is a little bit disappointing to me. I would recommend, like, for a newbie to get coated AR RPM 9. And I'm bringing up newbies because CJRB is a brand that I do recommend to new people or non-knife people a lot. I've given lots of CJRB knives as gifts, but I've recently been thinking about the corrosion resistance and how, maybe that's something that a new knife owner won't know how to deal with, or just will not appreciate. And especially if you live in an environment that's a little more humid than the American Southwest, that could be a big issue for you. Again, I really don't have to worry about most of my knives rusting. Even my D2, I rarely worry about my D2 rusting. You can see here my D2 on this knife is taking a little bit of a patina, but I rarely worry about it all that much. The only time that my knives really get nasty or where corrosion becomes an issue is if I'm doing food prep, which I do, but typically that's not an issue because I cut the food and then I clean the blade because that's how you're supposed to do that. And so that's not an issue. The real big issue is when I'm hiking or working outside and I'm sweating and sweat is getting on the blade. That will cause corrosion. And that'll cause a little bit of rust. And AR RPM 9 just seems to be a little more prone to that than some other steels that I've carried. I mean, comparing it to something like S35VN, which I have sweated all over a lot of my S35VN knives, and they've been fine. Austin A, I've gotten a couple of rust spots on Austin A, but, that was pretty extreme. It just shows something that I've noticed and something that I take into consideration with AR RPM 9. It's not a deal breaker. I still love the steel, but I have noticed that it is a little more prone to corrosion than some of my other commonly carried stainless steels. And so that is something that, if you live in a humid environment and you don't like to put up with rust, I definitely recommend getting a coated ARRP of 9. But it is a great steel otherwise, so don't let that turn you off from it. But it's just something that I've thought about, and it's something that I made a couple shorts on, so I figured I might as well mention it in this video. All right, those are pretty much my only negatives. Let's get on to my final conclusions. Guys, I love this knife, and I think this is one of the best knives CJRB has ever made. I freaking love this knife. It's really, really hard. I have carried some absolutely excellent knives from CJRB recently. The Shale from last year absolutely blew me away. I freaking love this knife. I still carry this pretty regularly. This knife completely blew me away. You guys know how big of a fan I am of the Feldspar. I love a lot of CJRB's designs. I've been carrying the Fugly this year. Also really, really love that knife. But this one does stand above a lot of the others in terms of mixing that form and function. I loved every minute that I carried this knife. And again, I took this knife everywhere with me. This knife went around town and it went up to the tops of mountains. This knife has seen a lot of action and it's held up really, really well. And it looked really damn good while doing it. And I'm really, really impressed. And this has been a very, very long review. So I'm going to end it right here. Do I recommend this knife? Yes, 100%. I absolutely do. You can get these for about 50 to 55 bucks, depending on where you shop. And that's going to be it for today, guys. Big shout out to my channel members at the Cowboy level. I appreciate everything they do for the channel. If you want to become a member and support me directly, there's a link down below. As for the rest of you hooligans, if you enjoyed the video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. I've been Gideon, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.